Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, if you have a lot of debt or you have some debt and you're wondering, how do I get out of this? This video is for you. Now, a lot of us have had to use debt at one point or the other, whether it's student loans, credit cards, car loans, whatever, mortgage. You have had to borrow money from somebody where you've had to pay it back with interest. An article on Business Insider showed that the average American owes about $100,000 in debt, excluding their mortgages. This is a lot of money when you start thinking about it, especially if you factor in interest. This could double or triple if you're only making your minimum monthly payment. So you have to start thinking about getting out of debt and working intentionally to get out of debt, because this could be huge if it's not handled on time. So now that you have decided to get out of debt, how do you get out of debt? Now, getting out of debt is a very intentional process. It's a very consistent process. You have to start somewhere and you have to consistently make payments to make sure you get out of the hole that you find yourself in. That can be very stressful because the fact that you owe somebody money and they could come and repossess your car, you could get kicked out of your home, you could get your power cut because you're not able to make the bills because you use credit cards to pay the bills and things like that. The fact that this is something that you have to think about constantly will weigh down on you. It will stress you so much. And a lot of us have a lot of stress day to day because we have all this debt that we have on our backs. And even when you make a good income, the money that you have to pay out in interest alone, not even principal, takes away so much out of what you make that you're not comfortable, you're not happy. So how do you get out of debt, and what steps can you take to make sure that you don't get back into debt? First thing that you have to do is to write down the debt that you have. Make a list of the debt that you have and the interest that you pay on that debt. So if it's your credit cards, if it's your mortgage, if it's your car loan, if it's your student loans, if it is your personal loans that you have taken out, write down this debt, how much it is, and what the interest is on that debt. Now, the first thing that you need to do is to make sure that you pay off your family and your friends, because I think this is the debt with the highest interest. And why do I say that? Because the relationships that you have with people can get traumatized by debt. That's because if somebody gives you money in good faith, maybe they're your friend or your family, and you don't pay them back, that relationship is ruined because of money. And I think that is the worst thing that could happen in any family, in any friendship. So the first thing before you start paying these big corporations is pay off your family and pay off your friends, because that is the highest interest that you have. And remember, the relationships that you have with your family and with your friends, that's what matters. This is the person that you will call when you're in trouble. This is the person that you'll call when you need help. So if you have a loan that somebody gave you, please pay them off first. I think that's the first thing that you need to do. Nobody talks about that. So if somebody gave you money, that is your friend or your family, pay them off first. All right. So now that we've taken care of that first big step, now when you list down all your debt, you know how much you owe. So my formula for paying for debt is called the avalanche method, where you pay off the debt that has the highest interest. But there's a caveat to that, in the sense that if it's a high principal balance and the interest is maybe made at a midpoint between your highest and your lowest interest, maybe you should pay off that debt first. The reason I say that is because if you have a high principal and then a midpoint interest on that principal, it means that if you start paying off a lower balance, even if it has a high interest, this high loan that you have here is going to weigh down on you so much, because even though the interest is a little bit lower, the principal is so much that the interest calculation may be actually higher than what you're paying on this lower debt that you have. So make sure that you factor that as you start to pay off debt. If you have a high principal balance and you have a higher mid interest, that's the one you should start with. A lot of times the debt that has the highest rates is usually your credit card debt. So if you have high credit card debt, make sure you start paying that off immediately, because it's usually in the 20% range. So if you're paying 25% off on a credit card, pay that off immediately. So after you've done that, when you finish paying off that debt for your credit card, or whether it's the other principal that you had that was very high, take that amount that you were putting towards that specific debt and then apply it to the second. So it has like a step down effect. You pay off that loan, and whatever you are paying off for that loan, you put it to the next loan until you're done. Now, this is a very intentional process, because you're going to sit down and you're going to decide, how much do I have put away towards paying off debt? So this is after you've paid your month-to-month bills, your savings, your investments. How much can you put away? What is the maximum that you could put away towards paying off this debt and getting out of debt? Now, I actually think that you should pay off debt before you even start investing or even saving a lot. Make sure at least you have an emergency fund, but also before you start saving for vacations and all things, make sure you're putting money towards paying off debt quickly, because if you have high debt and if you have high debt and you're paying all this interest, it takes away all the benefit that you're getting from all your savings and all your investments. So think about that and make sure you factor that in as you start to pay off debt. Now, how do you pay off debt? You have to make decisions. You have to make priorities. Now, you should still be able to have your coffee. You should still be able to have lunch or whatever. But if there are things that you're spending money on right now that you really don't need to, take that money and put it towards your debt. So if this is, you're going to brunch, you're doing all these dinners, you're spending money on luxury items, this could run you out thousands of dollars every month. So if you can take that money and put it towards debt, then you can work strategically to get out of debt. So make sure that as you first list down your debt, then now you start paying it off. Pay off your families first, and then take money that you have been putting in other buckets towards this debt every month and do it consistently. You will get out of debt. Now, this is a very intentional decision. It takes a lot of consistency, but if you do it that way, you will get out of debt. If you found this video helpful, please do share and do subscribe. Thank you for watching.